All right, in this video, I wanted to walk you guys through the portfolio that I printed out for my most recent interview. And they were really impressed with just these simple printouts. So the first thing I did was printed out these two images. The one on the left is an actual product that I worked on, Google Ads. As you can see, it's a very simple screenshot. On the left, right, I worked on the different elements that you see here. We talked about field names, tool tips, etc. in the right on the screen lessons. And then over here on the right, we've talked about help center content. So this is an example of what it looks like. So I basically explained how, I basically set up the interview as far as what I wanted to talk about. So it really puts you in a power of position when you bring a portfolio sample to talk about, because you now drive the conversation and they get to ask you questions about your particular portfolio. Now, this one, you could do this in many different ways. You could do it as a checklist. You could do it even more, make it more visually interesting. But for me, this kind of walks through the process, like my work process. How do I work? This showed them that I was organized, but also that I was really familiar with the process from beginning to end, from the design process here all the way to publishing process. And these are the steps that I walk you through in the course as well. So it was really easy for me to just go through each column and explain, like, I'm familiar with working with these different types of people and attending these kinds of meetings and working through a process and developing a plan. All right, very simple, very, very simple, nothing fancy at all. It's all about explaining how you work and how you think. All right, because people are not mind readers. All right, so you have to be able to express that in a way that they can understand. And on this one, for this particular client, they are working on mobile apps. So things like field names and all the UI elements I've talked to you guys about in the course is super important to them. So I wanted to give them exact um, experiences I've had with that particular skill set. So coming up with field names, like what should be in a field name, how do you determine what it should be? And I talked about some of the challenges. I mean, it seems trivial, but it's really not. And this was actually a fun process for me. So I had a lot of fun explaining like how we came up with the different occasions for this particular field to cater to an international audience. And then I also talked about how we brainstormed the term monetary, because the initial term was dollar, but dollar doesn't apply to an international audience. So we went with monetary. And then how do you say how to show a discount in an ad? How do you show the differences between the dollar amount or the monetary amount versus the percent discount, right? Because this is for doing ads when you want to have a sale. So I just explained the process that we went through and some of the challenges that we had, and this is a result that we came up with. And then I also explained these different tool tips and how it was helpful to the user to explain what percent discount meant, and also to be able to provide additional information in a pop-up tooltip as you see here, and also something that's a little bit more complicated for the more sophisticated user, where they had to enter tracking templates, which is really like a URL. So I explained those thought processes, and that's it. These are 4 slides. That was it, and that dominated the interview process. So I really wasn't nervous at all because I was talking about things that I worked on. And these are some of the things that you can work on if you follow the course and you see how I pick random apps and I just make stuff up at times. Everyday things that you use, you can do the same thing. So I just wanted to show you guys exactly what I printed out for the interview. I also printed out copies of my resume, but they already had those printed out. So hopefully this was helpful and hopefully it inspires you to see how easy it is to make a good impression for your interviews so you can get these jobs. All right? All right.